I'd like everyone to know that the science is on our side, and science remains the same everywhere, no matter which part of the world you are in.
Yeah.
And it clearly tells us that the best thing an individual can do to lower their impact on the environment is to eat plant-based.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode on the Changemakers podcast. Today's episode features Rajeshwar. He's an animal rights activist in India, and he works with Animal Save, Plant-Based Treaty, and he also works as a coordinator for the National Animal Rights Day. So Raj is actually one of the people who launched the Save movement in India, starting with Mumbai Animal Save back in 2018. So his work focuses on individual change with his animal activism and on institutional change, working with the Plant-Based Treaty. In this episode, Raj shares about his vegan journey story, growing up in a family who owned a poultry shop, to becoming the activist that he is now. We also discuss his experience at COP28, where he worked with the Plant-Based Treaty, and about how they work to incorporate food systems into global policy talks in Dubai. And he also shares about his animal activism work, and he shares about his visit to a slaughterhouse during his work with Animal Save, and about his experience there. Tune in to hear all about effective methods of animal advocacy, about the power of using the Socratic method in vegan debates, and in general, just about veganism and activism in India specifically. I really enjoyed interviewing Raj and having him on the podcast. He's just so passionate about animal rights, and he works really, really hard for the animals. Without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Rajeshwar on the Changemakers podcast. Hi, Rajeshwar. Thank you so much for being on the podcast with me today.
Hi Farah, it's my pleasure to be here. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. So we met once. I think it was really once before at in 2022. We met at a vegan market, right? Correct?
Yes. I think it was called Ahimsa Fest.
Yeah. And you were standing with Animal Save, and so I remember talking to you, and since then we connect on IG, and it's been now like a year and a half. So I'm happy to meet you again and really talk to you about all it is that you do. So could we get a little bit of an introduction about you, what it is that you do, and why it is that you do it for the listeners?
So I'm Rajeshwar Singh. I am from Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh. I am a civil engineer by profession, a construction manager. But whenever I get time, I see this as my responsibility to raise awareness and to help animals, especially the farmed animals. And given the climate catastrophe that we are in, raising awareness about animal rights also helps our environment. So whenever I get time, I try and raise awareness, bear witness, make people endorse the plant-based treaty, and help in whatever way they can.
Yeah. So how long have you worked with Animal Save and Plant-Based Treaty now?
So I was one of the people who started the Save movement in India.
Wow.
It was back in 2018. So I was one of the founding organizers in Mumbai.
Amazing.
Started with Mumbai Animal Save. But now with the support of my partner Aprajita and a whole huge team now, we have a big presence all over India, and we are working not only on individual changes but also on institutional changes.
Amazing. That's where eventually change has to happen on the institutional level.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'd love to hear about your vegan journey story. So you started all your activism basically kind of in 2018. Is that when you turned vegan as well? And what turned you vegan actually?
So I belong to a family which owned a poultry farm.
No way.
I grew up in a situation where we were having non-veg every day. My day started with at least 3 to 4 eggs, ended with a chicken biryani.
Wow.
And having a poultry farm ourselves, it was very normal for me to even see chickens getting killed in front of me.
Oof.
So I come from right at the other end of the spectrum. And I used to make fun of vegetarians and say that you are eating all this ghas poos, you are missing out on all the fun in the life. So you're not having this tasty protein rich food. But then I started to look for justifications because I used to love the taste of meat and dairy and I wanted to continue it.
Yeah.
That's why I was looking for reasons. But the more I delved into it, I could not find one single good reason to continue doing it. Because what we are doing to the animals is horrible. I could not find a single justification. It was bad for the environment, it was bad for my health, and of course it was terrible for the animals that were involved in this.
Yeah.
And when I knew that it was possible for me to be healthy, alive, and thrive without causing all this unnecessary suffering, then I thought, why not? How can I continue doing this? Of course, it wasn't easy. It took me a lot of time, a lot of research, because coming from that end, I had a lot of biases, a thing in me telling me to just continue eating that, not to miss out on that taste.
No.
But at the end of the day, you need to consider who has it harder. Is it harder for me to give up meat and dairy, or is it harder for the animal from which the flesh is coming from?
Yeah.
If it is harder for the animal, it becomes very easy for us to not continue to support that.
How long ago was this?
This was in while I was in my post-graduation. It was in 2016-17.
Nice.
Yes.
And you just made the connection that you're just like, these animal products come from animals who suffer, and that just helped you transition?
Yes, so that was just plain preventable suffering, unnecessary suffering, which could be avoided. I said, why not?
Amazing.
Yes.
That's awesome. And like you said, the research stuff, it's important because we grow up and we have this idea that we need to eat meat for protein, and that if we don't, then how are we going to get protein? And it's just about the research to realize like you can get protein from so many sources, especially in India as well. You can get it from dal and chole and everything, you know? So how long have you been vegan? How many years is that? 2016. It's like
around 8 years.
Yeah. Amazing. That's so nice. I've only been vegan for now 3.5, so I'm excited to reach your level. So then you started your vegan journey then, and then activism as well. Could you share a bit about all the projects that you do for all these Animal Save, for NARD, for Plant-Based Treaty? You do it all on the side as a volunteer. It's amazing. But could you share a little bit about what you do for all these organizations?
So initially I started with street outreach, focusing on individual change. That's something which I still do.
Yeah.
And we have engaging conversations with people. The biases that I had are the same biases which a lot of other people have. Mm-hmm. I believe that most people are kind-hearted, good people who mean well. But since as a society, since our childhood, we have been indoctrinated in a certain way, in this speciesist way, to look at animals as lesser than us. It's only that which holds that kindness back in people. So otherwise, if you have engaging conversations with them, you'll find out that most people don't want to do that. They don't want to intentionally cause suffering of innocent animals. So a lot of my time I focus on having good conversations in the Socratic way, in a way in which I don't do a lot of talking, but I ask them questions like, when do you think a mother produces milk? Whom do you think that mother produces milk for? Do you think a mother can produce milk throughout her life? So basic open-ended questions like that, in which we can have good conversations. We also try and record them, get them edited and post on social media. So some of our content, the organic reach has been in around millions, 5 million. So some of the content does really well. Along with that, I've been associated with Our Planet Theirs too in organizing NARD, because I feel that is extremely effective, and the spark it brings, the energy it brings in the Indian animal rights community. In fact, I've seen a lot of non-vegans willing to organize NARD in their city and then later going vegan because they got associated with the community there.
Wow.
And now they are vegan, actively involved, volunteering for us.
That's amazing.
And the best thing is, most people associated with this are volunteers. So with very little admin costs, we can have a huge impact. Yes.
Yeah.
But recently now I've been trying to focus more on bringing about institutional change, because that is how I feel in the minimum amount of time and lesser investments we can save more and more animal lives. Because at the end of the day, our intention for doing anything, volunteering for any organization, is we want to save animal lives.
Yeah.
We want people to just eat something else.
Yeah.
But it's extremely difficult to bring about individual change. If you just tell people go vegan, it does not work that easily.
Yeah.
But suppose if you get an organization to only serve vegan food on certain days or throughout their operation, you are directly saving so many animal lives.
Yes.
So I'm with plant-based treaty especially.
Yeah.
If you can bring about policy change, and we've been successful in some cities around the world, a lot in India as well, especially thanks to the big team and Aparajita's leadership as well. Some very good changes happening.
Yeah. On that topic of the plant-based treaty, I know that you were recently at the COP28 in Dubai. What was it that you guys were trying to achieve there, and how was that experience? Did you talk to any of the, leaders of, who were, the ones who were actually going to be implementing the change? Like, did you manage to kind of talk to them, and how was that experience?
Yes, so with COP28, it was my first time going to a conference of parties. It was at Dubai. So I feel it was so effective.
Yeah.
What we were trying to do there was bring food systems included in policy, because without talking about food systems, without addressing animal agriculture, you cannot really call yourself an environmentalist.
Yes.
So we wanted to include food systems in the sustainable development goals that countries are having. We wanted a lot of people to incorporate and endorse the plant-based treaty, which says that we need to relinquish, redirect and restore, which basically means no more land use change. We don't want more slaughterhouses, more forests to be cut to make space for animal agriculture, which is destroying the planet. Redirect all those resources which are now being given to animal agriculture to subsidize ethical plant-based sustainable businesses. And the land and the resources that we free after all this, we can use that to reforest, create carbon sinks. So surprisingly, a lot of politicians, we were going door to door, contacting parties from different countries, explaining to them why food systems are important when talking about climate change. So talking just about fossil fuels is not enough. We need to address the elephant in the room, which is animal agriculture. And we received a lot of good response, and we are in fact working closely with a lot of governments now, some in India, some abroad as well.
Wow.
And you will definitely see a lot of positive change, institutional change happening soon. Some has already started to come out.
Yeah.
Yes, so we veganized Odisha Conference of Youth, which is event by United Nations. It happened in Odisha, Bhubaneswar, and it was completely vegan.
Wow, amazing.
Yes, so institutional changes like this are happening around the world. Like Amsterdam endorsed the plant-based treaty recently.
Yes.
And they are promoting plant-based foods. So yes, saving a lot of lives that way.
Yeah. And it's so important, because it's such a shock when you visit a climate change conference like COP28, and it's like a lot of people are still very unaware, or they're just not wanting to look at the facts or something of what our food system is doing to the climate. And it's like the last thing on people's minds or on the agenda when it comes to tackling climate change. And it's like, no, it should be the first and foremost one, because it's more than like global transportation combined, right? The emissions. But I think Plant-Based News was there as well, and they did like an interview with people, asking them like what would save the fish. Would it be like cutting out plastic straws, or would it be stop eating fish?
Yes.
And people would choose to stop using plastic straws over stop eating fish to save fish. And it shows the disconnect in like saving fish, or this scenario is fish, or just saving the climate, and like realizing, no, it's on our plate, that's what matters, not like the plastic use, but it's literally just like how we are eating. Yeah, it's insane. So it's great that you're saying you went door to door and like really you were there to tell them like, yo, the food that we eat is destructive to the climate. And that's amazing. That's powerful.
Yes, so we also had a lot of interventions. We went to a lot of panel talks in which the president of the International Dairy Federation was there. A lot of people from the meat and dairy lobby, they were also there.
Yeah.
So we asked them difficult questions.
Really?
So, yes, so even these industries, people coming from the core of these industries agree, because the science is very clear that animal agriculture is horrible for the environment.
Yeah.
It produces a lot of greenhouse gases.
Yeah.
It uses up a lot of land and water, which can be prevented. The only argument they have is people like their product and they need it. But yes, so
yeah.
But I'd like everyone to know that the science is on our side, and science remains the same everywhere, no matter which part of the world you are in.
Yeah.
And it clearly tells us that the best thing an individual can do to lower their impact on the environment is to eat plant-based.
Yes.
It is better than having an electric car, skipping showers, and having low flow faucets, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to do something for the environment, lower your carbon emissions, you should eat plant-based.
Yes. And it's so crazy that people are unwilling to recognize these facts, which are legit facts, and they try to argue with us, and they say no, avocados, almonds, or anything, any argument they try to throw at us. But it's just so true. It's just that if, you cannot be eating meat and be an environmentalist at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'd love to touch back upon your outreach and what you said about the Socratic method, because I thought that was really interesting. I'm guessing you've been so many years that you've done activism, so you kind of know like what's a good way to talk to non-vegans about veganism, and it's important to know how to do this to be effective, because otherwise we might push people away. I'll tell you something recently that happened to me, and it taught me a lot that I should be using the Socratic method, is because I had a conversation with a non-vegan, and I tried to, get him to like see his reasons for eating meat. It didn't go that well. And I think it's also because I had it in my head that I should ask questions, but I asked questions in a way like, don't you think that we shouldn't be doing, like it wasn't a really open-ended question. It wasn't trying to get him to think, it was trying to get him to think like how I think. So it wasn't a good approach, and I left that conversation feeling a bit like, like he was unwilling to change, and I didn't really plant the seed of why he should change. I don't know. He just ended up saying like, I eat chicken and that's it, and like I like it, and yeah, it was just it didn't end up good. And then I realized, okay, you're right. Like you need to just ask them questions of like, why do you maybe just get them to see why they eat the meat they eat, and then kind of dig it, like make them reflect themselves versus us telling them to reflect in that way, I guess. Could you share a little bit more about the Socratic method and effective animal advocacy methods and stuff like that?
Yes, so as you said, when I started with my activism journey, I was so filled with energy and enthusiasm, and I thought that if people just know these facts, they would go vegan.
Yeah.
So I would just go out on the streets and spew out all the facts.
Yeah.
And tell them this is happening, this is happening, this is happening to the dairy cows, this is happening to the layer hens, and we are all responsible for this.
Yeah.
But I realized that is not the way to go, because at the end of the day, my goal here is to be effective, an effective voice for the animals, and we want positive change to happen. We don't want to drive people away from animal rights and veganism. So I realized that as I said, most people are kind-hearted. They don't have ill intentions to cause unnecessary suffering. So if we have conversations in which they do most of the talking,
Okay, yeah.
then we have to gain a lot. So if you ask questions like, why do you think people eat meat? What are the things in animal flesh that you cannot get from elsewhere? So they'll think about it. They'll maybe say protein or calcium.
Yeah.
So you can ask, where do you think these animals get it from?
Yeah.
Because in my experience of having a poultry farm, we fed the chickens soy and corn. That was their primary diet.
Right.
So we have very good engaging conversations like that. And we also make sure that we stay connected with those people. So maybe we'll take their contact numbers, add them to support groups.
Wow.
We can sometimes help them with free consultation with professional dietitians if they need.
Yeah.
And help them with vegan products where they can get their
Nice.
replacements.
Yeah.
So it's, even if during outreach you cannot make people vegan, it would be not very intelligent to assume that you can just talk to someone for 5 minutes and they will go vegan.
Yeah.
You need to make them think about it. And when they themselves think about it, instead of listening to a lecture that we are giving,
Yeah.
I think it is more impactful.
Yeah.
You want to make them ask questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the practical stuff is also needed for them, like the practical advice of like how to transition and what other product to use. And
yes.
so that's great that you guys do that. Are they always kind of open? What has the response been in your outreach? Like, have you also had like negative experiences where people are just unwilling to change and don't even want to listen to you, or like what has been the response? Yeah.
So 99 times out of 100 the response is very positive, at least in my personal experience. But
Nice.
yes, there are some people who have some negative biases, and so we've had responses like, you guys are paid by some foreign propaganda to spread these lies in India, it won't work. So we had a person telling us that I'll shut you down in 2 months, you'll see, and it has been like 5 years since then. We are still waiting. And I'm still waiting for the propagandists to send us some funds for the propaganda that we are spreading. That also hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So,
That's
but yeah,
funny.
having said that, most of the response is quite positive, because at the end of the day, we are not selling anything.
Yeah.
We are not asking for donations. Our intention is to raise awareness, and people understand that, and they connect with that, especially in India.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing. And it's good that you said especially in India, because I'm curious to know that there are a lot of vegetarians. There's meat eaters as well, for sure, but there's a large part of the population is vegetarian. Do you focus a lot on like the dairy industry and what happens to the dairy cows and buffaloes? And are people aware most of the time of what happens to their cows and buffaloes?
Yes, so awareness, I would say, is increasing day by day.
Okay.
But it's still not up there. For meat, people in India, people see animals being slaughtered in the open. It's not hidden from anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So people already know that what is happening to the animals. But what happens to the dairy cows and buffaloes, it's behind closed doors, behind walls, which people cannot see.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of lack of awareness as well. And in our education also, people are taught since our childhood that milk is necessary and cows give us milk. Gaay hame doodh deti hai. But it's, people are raised thinking that cows just give milk. They are perennial milk making machines. Yes. But which is not the case. Yeah. Which you realize when you ask them questions like, when do you think cows start producing milk?
Yeah.
So they'll wonder and they'll say, हाँ यार, you are correct, they'll produce milk only when they have a baby. And then you can ask them, what do you think we do with the baby? Because if we let that baby stay with that mother, he'll drink up all the milk.
Yeah.
So they then think, but especially with movies like Maa Ka Doodh, which we are really trying to promote a lot, we find that as a very effective tool that activists today have to raise awareness about this, because when we organize screenings for the movie Makadud, we have people going vegan on the spot. We have a lot of testimonials of people saying that this is new information to us. We did not know the situation was that bad, and we do not want to continue doing this.
Wow.
So
Huge.
now we have tools like that,
Yeah.
and we are trying to make the most use of it. And we are, you just get us people and we'll organize the screening for you. We'll make all the arrangements. We'll also make people try some healthy economic vegan food, because that is extremely easy in India, given the ample vegan food that we already have.
Yeah, 100%. Just has to be made without ghee or something. And then it's all literally vegan. Magadud, for people who don't know, it's a recent documentary on the dairy industry in India, and it's free to watch on YouTube, and it's different languages. I think they're going to be available.
Yes, it is available in Hindi, English, Marathi, Gujarati, and it's coming in Tamil as well.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, and it shows everything about the dairy industry, and it also shows, I just found out from you guys that you actually recorded some of the slaughterhouse footage in Makadud, because I remember I talked to the director, Harsha, and I asked him about, like, what was the experience filming and stuff, but he did mention that, like, not everything was shot by him. Do you want to share about that, your experience, like, visiting slaughterhouses, and, like, what do people not know about what happens to animals in these slaughterhouses? What's, like, hidden from them that you do know and would want to share about?
So first of all, visiting a slaughterhouse is extremely traumatic, because, and you cannot really tell by looking at a video from a slaughterhouse. You have to be there to experience the kind of horror that exists over there. The stench of blood and death, it is extremely difficult to describe. Even though we know that we are not in their position, imagine being an animal who is waiting for their turn, and it happens in full view of each other. So the footage that was later used in Makadud was one of the vigils that we did for with Animal Save movement. We went to a slaughterhouse where buffaloes were being slaughtered, and we saw animals of all ages tied up, their legs tied up, and their throats being cut, and blood spilling out in drains, in channels that they had made. And we literally had to walk on the blood to go there. And even while these animals were coming inside the slaughterhouse, the last drop of milk from their udders was being squeezed out and collected in buckets to be sold. So I am ashamed to say that we are living in the 21st century. We call ourselves civilized people, a civilized population. We talk about all the moral progress that we've made, but we are still allowing this kind of atrocity to happen.
Yeah.
Yes, and we need to stop this. We need to do whatever it takes to stop this. And visiting slaughterhouses and dairy farms also not only motivates non-vegans to go vegan, but it also reminds us as vegan activists who we are fighting for and why is it necessary.
100%.
And why you cannot just stop doing that.
Dude, I cannot believe that you visited slaughterhouses, and I visited a farm myself, and even that was like I had nightmares the night after about it, because just there, even they were tied up and sitting in their own shit and just living and they were suffering and living horrible lives, and you can just tell from them, because they're living sentient beings, and you can tell that they're not enjoying their life experience, and they get beaten as well. It's just a horrible experience. So I can imagine a slaughterhouse, and like I said, in India, they're all tied up on the ropes. I think I've seen the footage on Instagram where they're all just laid on the floor, tied with their, just they can't move, and then just the knife comes, and really, really horrible things. And I do hope the world wakes up and like realizes that this is going on because we are funding it with our, consumer choice. And like you said, it's 21st century, like what are we, like the Middle Ages? If you visit a slaughterhouse like this, you're just like seeing all the violence, and it's but it's, like you said, it gives you motivation to continue doing what you do.
Yes.
On that topic of activism, because there might be some animal activists listening to this, how do you personally deal with, having experienced slaughterhouses, having to do this activism and dealing with non-vegans and all that stuff? Like, how do you manage your mental health during all of this?
I understand that dealing with mental health and the mental health conditions might be very different for different activists, but visiting slaughterhouses, going for outreaches, campaigning for institutional changes, organizing NAD, this just motivates me, and looking at the scale of the problem, it only encourages me to do more. But sometimes it can happen that you can feel burnt out, and we need to understand that different people can contribute in a different way.
Right.
Like, you are amazing with social media. I see your content, the kind of editing that you do, the kind of stories that you post. I personally cannot do that. I don't have those skills. So what you can do, I cannot do. But at the same time, we can raise awareness, reach out to people, and we can collaborate. I can take your help. You can use some of the footage that we took. So do whatever you think you are best at, which does not burn you out. But at the same time, keep in mind why we are doing this. What is our motivation behind it, and why it is necessary. It's okay to take a break sometimes, because already we have very few animal rights activists, and this is the only movement where the oppressed group is being represented by other people.
Yes, by not the victims.
But not the victims. The victims are trying to fight, but their struggle is hidden from us. They are trying to scream, but their voice is not able to reach us. It is behind all those advertisements by the meat and dairy, all the lobbying by meat and dairy industries. So it is our job as activists to show that suffering, to show that voice of those who are being oppressed and those who are suffering to the world. While not burning out, taking breaks whenever necessary, reaching out for help. So if someone feels that they are in need of counseling, they can maybe reach out to us. We can also help with that. And if they think they need a training in doing some other form of activism, they can also reach us. We can provide trainings.
Amazing.
So it's best to, contribute in whatever way you are good at. Maybe you are good at photography, videography. You can do that. If you only want to come and hold a placard, even still you are helping. Because you are showing people that there are people who think like this. There are people who feel that animals should have the right to live. Animals should not have their babies taken away from them. So there are a bunch of people who think like this. So even just by showing up, you can do that. Even by sharing posts on social media, putting stuff on your WhatsApp status, talking to friends and family, and not getting disheartened. Because I am speaking this from my personal experience, that when I first went vegan, I thought, from what I've recently come to know, if everybody else knew that, they would go vegan instantly. But sadly, that doesn't work. And it's the family and close friends are the most difficult people to deal with. Because that's who you love the most. But sometimes they don't take you as seriously as a stranger on the street might. So it's okay to understand, it's necessary to accept that there are a lot of people in this world, not just your friends and family, and to focus your energy, your time, your money on people who are willing to listen.
Nice.
Yes.
Can I ask you about, you said that you are coming from a poultry farm family and now you're vegan. So how is the situation now with your family and being vegan does your family still run a poultry shop? I mean, could you share a bit about that? Very curious.
So fortunately, my parents have been very supportive. They've been open to logic and facts.
Nice.
So both my parents are vegetarians now. We no longer have that poultry farm.
Wow.
So
amazing.
They also help me in activism, in organizing, say, NARD in Jabalpur.
Yeah.
And movie screenings, and wherever their help is needed, they are always available to volunteer. So I have been lucky that way.
That's so
but
sweet.
Yes, initially coming from a Punjabi family where even when you cook instant noodles, you put ghee in it, and being a little on the heavier side by consuming all the dairy and meat products is considered to be the healthiest state to be. And
right.
It took a lot of time, but the situation is quite good now.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
Because you're right about with the family, because if you don't have vegan family, you might want to try to turn them vegan, but it's true that you should focus that efforts on sometimes strangers can be more receptive to it than your direct family and friends. 100%. And to kind of wrap things up, what is it you're currently working on? Do you have any future projects that you're excited about, and just what's next for you and your advocacy?
So apart from our regular outreach around India, we are going to continue organize screenings for the movie Maa Ka Doodh, attended by hundreds of people, upwards of 200 people in a lot of screenings all around India. And we are also willing to help people who want to do that. You just need to get people who are interested in watching the movie, and we'll take it from there. And we'll make sure that they understand what veganism is, why it is important to go vegan, and also give them economic, healthy alternatives, and give them free, healthy snacks after the movie.
So cool. Yeah.
Along with that, we are also excited about plant-based hospitality guidebook, or the vegan hospitality guidebook, in which a lot of stakeholders, a lot of governments are getting involved, along with volunteers from around the world, focusing mainly on Asia. So in which we are teaching the teachers on how to incorporate vegan plant-based options in the hospitality industry. In fact, we've already had 2 non-vegan restaurants going vegan in India. A lot of them incorporating vegan options now.
Amazing.
So yes, focusing on institutional changes like that along with individual interventions.
That's so exciting. That's really cool. I think the plant-based treaty is doing amazing stuff, and so I'm happy you're involved with that and volunteering with them. I really hope that this keeps happening, more institutional change and creating a vegan world. Is there one final message that you'd like to leave with the listeners today?
I'd only like to say that we are in an emergency. It is extremely important to take the right steps now. We have all the necessary resources. We need more people to get active and get involved in animal rights activism in whatever way you can, because we do not have another week, we do not have another year. We need to act fast, we need to act now.
Yeah, there's no planet B.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Rajeshwar. I feel like people have learned a lot from you, and you can tell just how passionate you are about what it is that you do, and you can tell it through your how you talk about it, but literally everything you're doing shows that as well. So thank you for everything that you're doing for the animals.
Thank you, and right back at you.
Thank you.
Thanks
and thank you to everyone for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Changemakers podcast. My name is farahamberh, and I hope that you enjoyed the episode. If you did, it would really mean the world to me if you could rate the podcast, and also remember to follow the podcast to stay updated on new episodes. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.